Welcome to Sad Boys, a podcast about feelings and other things also. I'm Jarvis.
I'm Jordan. I think your laundry machine just wrapped up and it's one of those like gas little melodies.
Yeah, we had to like kind of pop, lock, and drop it, so to speak.
What's ours? It's the swan, the trout. We have
The trout? You know what my immediate thought was? Is the big mouth bass that sings on your wall.
Yeah, we haven't strapped to the
Billy?
laundry machine.
Billy the Bass. Where he goes, take me to the river.
Can you imagine being seeing that for the first time and just freaking out? Like, it's like seeing Crazy Frog when we were like 6.
When I was a child, it's genuinely horrifying because I don't understand like what sorcery is going into why that's happening.
A friend of mine is like maybe a little too into if we have a stupid idea, going like, okay, no, I'll literally do it. And it's like, yeah, for sure. And then like, oh no, oh my God, he did. At one point in time, he was working on creating a version of Big Mouth Billy Bass, except it was a stuffed rat. That was the plan for whatever reason. But still did the like, take me to the river.
I was thinking the same sense, but why is it? I'm just a taxidermy. That just like stresses me out.
It's scary, freaky.
Because the idea is that this was a trophy fish that was murdered and hung on the wall.
And he's going like, can you take me to the river, please? That's where I live.
But
Well,
he's
no,
so
actually,
alive.
he wasn't murdered. Actually, he was caught, and then he learned to breathe.
That's right.
Air.
Out.
And
He learned to breathe air,
and sing.
and he learned to talk and sing. That should be celebrated.
And we think it's a tragic story. It's the story of
It's a
little
miracle.
We used to build things.
It's John Locke stepping out of his wheelchair.
Don't tell this fish.
Don't tell this fish what he can't do.
There was an old McDonald's commercial circa
Old McDonald.
He had a farm. No?
circa early 2000s that would come. And it was one of those fish that were singing on the wall, and it's like someone is eating a fillet of fish, and the thing comes to life, and it starts like singing like, "Give me back that fillet of fish. Give me that fish." Is this it?
Oh my God.
I was.
And it was-
Did you have a
listen,
hotkey for that?
I was prepared to say you were making that up.
No, and it was
Jacob frame perfect parried
Well, it
and
was-
started playing the video.
It was the funniest thing ever to us as kids, me and my sisters. We replayed that, like we rewound and watched that commercial like 50 times because we were just laughing hysterically for no reason.
I know people like watching they aren't necessarily seeing the layout in the same way that we do, but it always cracks me up. Anytime Jacob has found something, and from our view, the window is manually moved into frame. It's like he's like, hey, look at this.
Yeah.
I got you this window.
How you doing? I haven't seen you in a long time, I feel.
Yeah, why?
Well, because I was, because I had to go into, I was doing a shoot all week this week.
Yeah, sometimes I forget that we do see each other sometimes outside of the show.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes we'll see each other a bunch, and then other times we do, like, we just get lost in our own little...
Yeah, no, of course.
I'm playing Crimson Desert, you're in the champion zone.
Yeah, well, so that's the thing. It's like I was, and I can't, or I'm not going to say for who or for what, but it's a big production with some friends of the show. And so it was like 3 long shoot days, Monday through Wednesday. And normally we record on Wednesday. So today we're recording on Thursday. And then this weekend I had a friend going out of town. And so I saw them. And so basically just like time got away from me. And on top of that, I am preparing for, I am now in the Pokemon Champion Zone because I am competing in the Wolfie Invitational. And I need to learn how to play competitive Pokemon double battles.
Are you going to wear like a gym leader style costume?
So Brian, David Gilbert, friend of the show, is also competing, and he has a fun idea that he's doing. I don't think I can top it, but I would love to come up with something.
Just dress as like Sasuke.
Yeah.
Or something, just like completely unrelated cosplay.
Like a janitor. I'm like the Ayatollah guy.
Like, this guy's not strong.
Yeah.
I'm
Anatoly.
It does.
I was mixing up Ayatollah and Anatoly.
Yeah, I don't believe that's his role.
Do you have a jumpsuit? Like a...
I do, because from your garage sale.
I remember this.
Yeah. I'm addicted, though. Give me a ladder to grind in a competitive strategic game that's turn-based and similar enough to Magic the Gathering, and I'm in.
And bundles in other games you've played.
And bundles
the
in
past.
a lifelong fandom of a franchise.
They kind of caught you.
Yeah. I've
You're mounted on the wall singing "Take Me to
I've
the
watched
River."
VGC for years at this point, not knowing what the hell was going on. And I've watched Wolfie's videos because he produces them well and they're like fun hero's journeys to watch. But everything he says makes sense to me, but I also don't. It's like if you ask me again, like, and why did he make that decision? I'd be like, your guess is as good as mine. But I always felt through all of that it was only a matter of time.
Yes, TikTok. Because
I'd never done a double battle in my life outside of like the campaigns where it was required. But single battles, I did. That's how I got my start in internet content creation, because I wrote that guide about EV training back when I was 17.
And now you're taking off the weights.
Now I'm taking off the weights. So I'm in a position where I know what a lot of the words are, and I know what all the Pokemon are.
Oh, you've done the homework.
So it's like, it's interesting because I don't. Instead, it's like the opposite of shapes and sounds, where it's like I know all the words. And now I've been familiar with pawns, knights, bishops, queens, kings.
Now, but
rooks,
never touched them.
And I'm now finally putting them on a game board and playing chess.
Like, this is way heavier than I thought.
Bishop, I'm a fan of your work. I'm a fan of your work moving diagonally, though I've never done it myself.
I know the queen and... Did you teach the queen that?
No, you know the queen. You guys are
passing each other.
You guys are pretty close.
Hey, what's up? I didn't know you were moving along the white
that's
squares.
how it feels. And so it's exciting because Pokemon Champions is super fun and it's super beginner friendly, in that one of the scariest things about VGC is how many Pokemon there are, how many items there are, how many combinations of movesets, also how difficult it is to acquire some of the Pokemon. If you want to play with a Mega Eternal Flower Floette, well, I hope you played through Legends ZA, and I hope you've done 15 rounds of the post-game thing. Battles.
I mean, in your Peep's case, obviously, this is...
Yeah, but you know what I mean.
Fulfilled, yes.
But you know what I mean.
But if you're not like a freak, like a fucked up kind of like...
It's grindy as hell.
But I have a question.
Yeah.
With the... Okay, we can't say what it is, but the shoot you're just doing...
Yes.
And the world stuff coming up and like these focal points... I kind of feel like there's a uncanny valley or where like it's... You can... With a lot of free time and not a lot going on, you can kind of switch off into a sort of recovery mode.
Yeah.
And with a lot going on back to back, you're almost building up like a stamina, not just socially, but professionally.
Yeah.
And then all of that, like 2 things happening this week, but no more than that. That's a bit more like the cool down isn't long enough.
I agree.
Where are you at on that?
My last 3 days have been waking up at 6:30 a.m., doing Pokemon coaching from 7 a.m. to like 9 a.m. because my coach is in the East Coast, so it was like regular morning time for him. And then going to set from like 9 to like 8.
Like a farmer.
What's crazy about it is I felt mostly fine the whole time, which is like a reminder in the weird way ADHD works, the weird way my energy works, because I would have thought that I would be completely exhausted.
Yes.
And
it's that middle ground.
And I was tired, but I wasn't spent. Does that make sense?
I think so. What sucks is when the lack of rhythm and like disorganization of that ADHD rhythm without a focal point makes you exhausted, but not physically tired.
Yeah.
And you are like, you're fidgety and like not quite spent, but your mind cannot summon like time to go for a walk or
exactly.
do something, as opposed to like, don't get me wrong, it's not something you can do infinitely, but I think that's probably something we both miss about an office.
Yeah.
This is the period where you're on and then you're done. You actually illustrating that is like the story I told before of where like my first semester in college, I took the minimum amount of classes because I was afraid of college and I was afraid I would do it bad. And then I got like the worst grades I've gotten in college. And then in the quiet,
the next semester I took next to the maximum of coursework you could possibly take. And I got straight A's.
I think there is something to like, and
because I just didn't have the downtime didn't exist. It was like you got to keep going.
Yeah, because then also when you're resting, you are resting for the purpose of being ready for the next one, and as opposed to like, I'm waiting for my ability cooldowns, but I'm not going to really be spending them right away. And it's that stagnation period that, you know, if you don't handle it well, it's essentially just like hypermania, and you're not. It's unhealthy for whatever other reasons, but like rhythm maybe is a part of it. But I know, like, I think you thrive in. I mean, I can't speak to the quiet time. I'm not seeing it, but I think you definitely thrive in little density. Pockets.
I thrive in density, but I love to rest.
I know, it feels good as fuck.
Like, one of the funnier things is that Pokemon Champions launched on iOS
Risky.
like yesterday. And
They got you again.
I guess midday yesterday. So every time we would have downtime on set, I brought my Switch in my backpack just in case we had a ton of downtime on day 2. And I brought it out for maybe 30 minutes or something. But then on Wednesday, we had more downtime, and it was more socially acceptable for me to be on my phone than to pull out a Switch. And that's where I was getting my real gaming hours.
Yeah, that feels good as hell. Do you think I think it weirdly is size of screen. I think smaller the screen, the better the assumption is that it's a normal thing you're doing.
Yep. And it's just like we're always on our phone, so no one even thinks about
These days. Anti-social media, that's basically what I'm calling it.
That's what you're calling it.
I think there's, I'll tell you what. Oh, yeah, I haven't talked to you about this. I'm WellbutrinMaxxing. I'm, first time I have taken any kind of antidepressant or associated. What's the other name for it? Wellbutrin.
Have I told you about anything that's up with me?
Black?
It's happening again.
Oh, fuck off.
I started Wellbutrin 7 days ago.
Oh, God. What?
I started
Wait,
Wellbutrin.
what day?
Yeah, maybe 9 days ago. Oh, I can look it up.
I hate this.
There's
about
no
you
more
two.
of this.
This is
No more of this.
This is fucked up. I started it on June 4th.
Was that Tuesday? Oh, wait, no. Oh, so I was fucking copying you. No. A week
Subconsciously.
later I started. I was copying. Well,
But that makes sense since he's like 2 years older.
True. It does make sense.
Unc.
It's like giving you my hand-me-downs.
Exactly.
You're the canary.
Giving
in the
you my
coal
old Letterman jacket.
Did you do Wellbutrin in the past?
I did a couple times, but it wasn't in concert with the stuff that
The cocktail is new.
the cocktail.
Exactly
yeah, the cocktail's
same.
new. And the first time I did it, it was when my like chronic hives started
And you thought maybe-
again, and everybody was like, "Oh, well, we have to stop this because we don't know if there's like an allergic thing." And I'm like, "I'm pretty sure this is just random chance
Yeah.
because it started again, and now I've been back in hive mode for the past like 8 years or something like that." And then
Wellbutrin really fucked you up.
yeah.
It was an 8-year reaction.
Yeah.
How is it?
Well, I don't. My psych said it takes like a few weeks.
Yeah, it's
It's like fast in terms of stuff like that, but that still takes a few weeks. So
my understanding
so far,
is
so
that
good, I
like
guess.
the lift, and it's always such a funny conversation because it is like it's like tarot cards where you're just like, well, they said this, and then you ask like, well, how come? And they're like, huh? Would you? Yeah, I don't know. Fucking what? I went to medical school. I know everything.
Yeah.
I do think there's like the synthesis of it with the cocktail is what like builds, but I also know that it within like the first week, like 1 to 2 weeks, and I'm accepting placebo because results isn't the only thing I care about, but I have been like,
or placebo is results.
fuck, write that down.
Who are you talking to?
The audience, write that down.
Okay, wait. Allow yourself to enjoy the placebo gazebo.
That sounds too.
But yeah, it's funny because I don't know. I imagine we kind of took different paths to the same destination because we're not
Many
on
such
exactly
cases.
the same cocktail. But it's funny that our
Similar
cocktail-
goals, different.
Yeah, I think for me it was about softening the curve of my like Vyvanse crashes.
Yes, that is for me. It's the reason we've always been semi-avoidant of antidepressants is because I think I've like underemphasized that in the past. All toxic biases, even doing other medication. You know, I'm like, yeah, well, this stuff's all real, but work hard, change the game. You know, like despite being a huge advocate for mental health medication and seeking that, it's still sometimes I will forget that I need to try new things and explore.
Yeah, mental health and dental health. Eye care, skincare, really.
The real ones, no. I don't have the for some reason I think I just hit this particular point where I was at a particular level and I was just talking to my psych. I'm like at the same psych for 7 years, coming up on 7 years. 7 years.
For 67 years?
67 years I had it, which makes it crazy that this has never come up.
You know what? Okay, here's the thing. 6-7's not, we're not going to think about that in like a few, like in a year's time, it'll be like gone.
Yeah.
But when you turn 67 years old,
dude,
it's going to come back. It's going to come back in a big way.
Well, you're going to hit it.
You're going to say,
like,
no one except for my other senior citizen brethren remember the few months that we had this.
We're going to have such a good time on your 67th birthday, and then mine's going to roll around. Everyone's like, we kind of did that.
We kind of did that. And it'll be my 69th.
No!
And I'll be like, hey!
We get to the next one, I'm like, well, it's my 68th. Is that fun? It's like, Jarvis just turned 70. Come on!
Hey.
69? Jarvis kind of did that one.
Yeah.
But the thing about like figuring out the concept of the meds is we never really explored it because of the most success I had with a particular medication was for my for bipolar 2.
Yeah.
And the lamotrigine, godsend, love it, always have it. I'm
never leave home without it.
Never leave home without it. Loaded. I open carry Lamictal, but I don't. Adding in a third thing, I wasn't accounting for like what the cocktail could do. I was
Me too.
more like,
and
I want antidepressant.
I was
but
worried.
why?
I was worried about that, and then. It's funny because my psych was like, does that bother you to like take a few medications in cocktail? And I was like, does it bother you? And she was like, no, it's really normal. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. Because I actually thought that one of the medications I've been taking for like the last 6-7 years.
Don't laugh. Don't encourage him.
Is
slap him on the forehead.
And by the way, yes, 6-7 is dead. Yes, we're kind of doing that's what she said again.
It's archaeology. We're digging it up.
It's like we're having our fun with it in a meta way.
Definitely.
In the way the Pope is having fun with it.
What? I thought that the medication that I was taking already was an antidepressant, and I thought that it was mutually exclusive with Wellbutrin, and then my psych was like, no, people take those together and that's a thing. And I was like, that's been a thing this whole time?
Do you have this thing with like, I don't do talk therapy right now, but it's also been the case where I've done that. My psychiatrist kind of just feels like good crossover with that. I feel like he will snipe so many specifics and spot and remind me of things that like, and has such a good archive for that sometimes I forget what he can't have known. I like, well, this guy's always pretty much, you know, he's
kind of like a Nostradamus thing. He's there, and I looked at an old newspaper from my childhood, and he was there in the background with his Magic the Gathering cards.
And then I'm like, well, why didn't you time travel to last week when I wasn't feeling so hot? And I realized like, oh, right, yeah, he's not going to suggest adding an additional medication for something that he might speculate is going on, you know? Oh,
right, yeah. Also, to the point of like, a person who's doing their job well, he's not just trying to put drugs inside of you for money.
I think maybe what did it, I was just like very candid. I'm like, I feel like I'm losing so much of my life to just feeling sad. I don't want to turn 40 and not have tried this and then try it and go like, oh my God, I lost so much time. But now trying it, I think the thing that maybe changed it for him is I just specifically said like, I'm trying to sleep better. I'm back at the gym, and I'm like, but I don't get the brain juice I used to get from the gym. Like something is now different, and that's a problem. And I think with that, I think it activated a like. I don't even know why. Again, I have no shame, or I should say, theoretically, I have no shame about medication, etc. Mm-hmm. But sometimes, like he mentioned it. And I almost felt like I was like scamming a doctor into giving me painkillers.
Yeah, like you said the thing where I get nervous on airplanes.
And then they just like, Or like they're asking for my ID and I am an adult and I can drink, but I still give it to them kind of like nervously, like it's a fake.
I still give my ID nervous. I still give my ID to a bouncer and I expect him to say, "There's no way."
He's like,
"You are not allowed in here."
Passing it in motion. You're a
child?
loser.
There's no way you're 19 years old.
You have a child's mind.
I had someone yesterday. I went to a Dodgers game, and
You playing or?
They pointed at me while I was in the stands and said, "Get down here right now.
Oh.
Shohei needs you." I was like, "What does he need me for?" "To pitch." No, okay,
He's
sorry.
gambling and he needs your advice.
I don't drink, but all my friends were getting beers and we were all ordering together. And the guy said, "Can I see your ID?" And we all were like, "Ha ha ha, we're so old." And we like handed, I was like, "I'm just drinking soda." So everyone else handed their IDs. We're all like around 40. I think 3 of us are over 40 and one person is like 39. And he goes, "Oh my God, I thought you guys were like 20. And I was like, "They're like my daughters." Because also
I thought you guys were sisters.
they're all like 5'2". And so I tower over them.
Oh my God, no offense. Oh my God.
And he goes, so seriously, he was like, "No, it's you that I thought looked really young." I was like, "Calm down, dude."
No.
I'm
You do
joking
have no
around.
grays.
I
have
do
one
think
gray.
you look really young, but that's also a weird reaction.
It's a weird
Yeah.
reaction. I have
and
one gray.
It might be your kind of like, do you think it's like your psychological lack of maturity and lack of frontal lobe function? And
I actually do think that is.
your whimsy? Why is she getting soda?
It's like, when someone has childhood trauma and they're just trapped in that age.
In their
Do I know
defense,
that? I mean, I know when I died. I'm not trying to pathologize.
in their defense, you were wearing a propeller hat, sipping a Capri Sun,
That's right.
holding a
I had a
skateboard.
giant lolly.
Yes.
Oh, a giant lolly.
Hard to skateboard with that and a Capri Sun.
yeah.
Cool look though. I guess we'll have to do a weekly Wellbutrin check. Like,
Yeah, the Wellbutrin wellness check. Well, okay, hold on.
I guess it's
I'm
not-
on the generic, so we don't even have to. I'm on the bupropion or whatever.
Boys Propion?
The boys propion.
Yeah, actually, yeah, no free
The
clout.
bros propane.
Hey, question.
Real ones, no.
I don't think I've gotten a brand medication in years.
That's because of the way American insurance works.
Are we still
Can I tell
doing
you?
that?
Can I tell you the bullshit?
Yes.
So, for example, I was on Vyvanse for years, right? When Vyvanse is and I'm gonna oversimplify, but there's like time limits on exclusivity with like name brand drugs.
Which one is the name brand for Vyvanse? Is Vyvanse the name?
Vyvanse is the name brand.
Okay, right.
So in a couple years ago, Vyvanse went generic. The second Vyvanse went generic, my insurance no longer covered Vyvanse.
Insane.
My insurance now covered lisdexamphetamine, which is the drug name of the.
so funny.
And when that switchover happened, it fucked over loads of people.
Yeah.
Because they hadn't like the manufacturing of the generic wasn't up to speed with the demand of name brand Vyvanse, and a bunch of people's insurance just switched over, and it was like backed up, and people can get their drugs.
I feel like there was like a even more so before that it happened over the pandemic, but there was a Adderall shortage circa late 2019, and there was I remember you could still get Adderall pretty easily, so it was essentially like a financial cap on who could access their medication. This probably sounds so crazy to a bunch of Europe,
yeah. Well,
Animals?
speaking of Europeans,
I'm being
it's the World Cup.
Have you ever found the perfect collectible, limited fashion drop, or tasty sounding snack, only to find out that it's from a Japanese store that doesn't ship to your country? Well, Zen Daijoubu. That's Japanese for it's totally okay, because Zen Market makes buying from Japan completely stress-free. It's the most reliable Japan shopping partner out there. Here's what makes them the best. 1, real support in 19 different languages, no shouting into the void of AI chatbots. 2, total transparency. There's just a simple 300 to 800 yen service fee per item, no hidden percentage cuts. and 3 60 days of free warehouse storage. Buy from a bunch of different stores over 2 months, and they will consolidate that into one package. And they're famous for their tough, bulletproof packaging, where even delicate stuff is going to survive a trip around the globe. So don't just shop Japan, ship with a partner that you can actually trust. Sign up using our code ZENZENOK, that's ZENZEN OK, to get 1,000 free Zen points to get you started. You can also visit go.zenmarket.jp/sadboys to start shopping. That's go.zenmarket.jp/sadboys. Got Japanese goods on your wish list? Visit Zen Market. Thanks to Zen Market for sponsoring this episode. Now back to the episode.
It's the World Cup.
Are you?
Ole, 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 ole.
I'm waving.
Hey, let me tell you, you and fucking Harry Kane.
With the
It's
two of us?
not coming home.
Come
I'm just
on,
kidding.
man.
I don't know anything about the World Cup or soccer.
I mean,
Who's that?
It probably isn't. But
I think he's a striker for England.
Spain's looking a little
Maybe?
weird.
I don't know.
Harry Kane?
Yeah,
I believe
he is.
he's a striker for England
This
right
guy,
now. Yes.
this guy, I'm just uploading info to my brain. I don't know. I don't know anything.
But it's great for if you were in the UK right now and you
Oh my
needed
God,
to
a
carry
Messi
one
hat
convo.
trick. How does he do it at 38? But Ronaldo looks washed. Do you see how
Well,
I
I can't say that. That you've just
No.
every nation's gonna
It's
shoot you in the back of the
unfortunately
head.
that's the thing. That's what the streets are saying right now, because Portugal couldn't beat the Democratic Republic of Congo.
It's really fun because they shorten it to DR Congo, so it looks like
Congo,
Dr. Congo.
Dr. Congo, and it's like DK.
They couldn't
Dr.
beat
Kong.
They couldn't beat one guy. Dr. Congo just playing by himself.
It is also funny for like football heads who don't know anything about world geography, who keep going, I can't believe they lost to DR Congo. Like, I don't know if anyone calls it that.
No,
You've had a new one.
I'm a huge World Cup head. Have been ever since
Shout out
2000.
Yeah.
Shout out Cuphead.
I'm a mug man.
Ever since 2002. I was doing my study abroad in the UK. The World Cup was happening in Korea and Japan. And so we would wake up at like 7 a.m., go to the pub,
Fly
watch
there.
matches.
So I have also a European connection to the World Cup, which is that when I studied abroad in Spain in 2014,
Huge.
Spain was the defending World Cup champion that year. And so it was a big deal there, and they were out so early.
Yeah.
It was a rough year, but there's something different about this World Cup.
What? It's in the Americas.
It's in the Americas, that's one. And as a result, Americans are taking more interest in it.
That happened in the 80s as well.
Yeah,
and
that's
it's also everywhere, which like the scale of the United States is such that you could like even observing, you're operating in multiple time zones nationally
Yes.
for games, which
but
is like
it's
great.
also the first time of the social media generation that we're having a World Cup. And we are now seeing the European mind being forced to comprehend America, because America is extremely flawed, and it's mostly what we talk about on this show. America also contains multitudes, and Europeans culturally love to be elitist about the United States of America.
Oh yeah,
And it's
feels good as fuck.
I bet it hits like fucking crack.
Yeah.
Because it's not even, I get nothing out of it because I'm like, I know. Like and I'm on your side too. But I don't get the smarmy self-satisfaction.
I've burned
as
my-
meanwhile Britain is burning.
Yes,
It is like,
I've burned my meter on making fun of the US now. So it's like now if I do it, it's like, well, it feels almost like stolen valor to spend the majority of my adult life here and then be like, these Yanks.
Yeah.
These Yanks, right?
I know, and every time you make fun of America, I look at you. You're wearing a 10-gallon cowboy hat.
was
You're
on the
getting
phone.
into your F Ford 350.
I was getting
You're
my
going to
F4.
Costco and loading up on 10 years of toilet paper.
Well, no, I believe if I'm a true American, I'm going
it's
to Costco and
dude
staying.
wipes. it's
I'm staying in the center of the aisle with my cart sideways to block off like an element of an essential lane.
when you are the world's police force, it's not fun to do patriotism because
No.
it looks real different that way. But I just need to say this. When I am rooting for America, it's in a woke way, okay? It's in a woke leftist fashion.
It's in universe. We're
It's
doing
in-
it
it's
within
in
the
universe.
With suspension of disbelief.
Suspension of disbelief.
Everything from movies and cultural hegemony is true during the game.
It's me clapping at Hamilton, not
Yes.
going, yeah, this is flawed, actually.
We're LARPing for a little while. And we're
Yeah,
going like,
allow me to LARP.
LARP, land of the free, dude. I'm putting on elf ears and being like, yeah, I'm actually going
As
against
soon as the
Mordor.
World Cup is over, we're back to the dark times, okay?
Hats off.
There's like on social media, there's two fun things happening. One avenue is America as theme park. Like I saw this on TV and now I'm experiencing it in real life and it's ridiculous. And then the other avenue is America is a hellscape and I cannot believe this is real.
Anyone going?
And those are the poles at which America truly does oscillate.
Yeah, both are true.
Yeah.
Both are true experiences.
It does domestically. Like that is the experience, even if you just are moving city or state or something. Like it's such a variable nation with such a variable populace that you go somewhere and go like, wow, it sucks here in Arizona in ways that it does not even an hour north.
The funny reason that there's like so much oscillating is because they're all over the place.
This is like doing this all over Europe, right?
Doing European World Cup. Just,
Yeah. Like every corner has such a different culture. And so the English national team was in Texas ahead of their, like doing training and stuff. They were at the training facility. There was a shooting outside the training facility. And then their truck with all of their equipment got stolen, all their cleats and stuff. And then
You gotta be keeping an eye on that.
and then the star of the English team, Harry Kane, got food poisoning. Like all of
Too
this,
many spices in the food. Too much flavor,
I mean,
unfortunately.
honestly, he was probably eating Mexican food and was like, I can't handle this.
Already. He needs a salted potato.
But so it was like, there's a lot of hard stuff happening, but there's also a lot of fun stuff happening. And I think people are getting really excited about it. There's this guy named Freddie. He's from Germany. And his whole Twitter account has been people following along on his road trip that he's going on. And he he has become famous, essentially.
World's most excitable German.
He has started receiving his first few posts were really sweet. It was like, I went to Waffle House. It was amazing. Everyone was so nice, blah, blah, blah.
The drinks are huge. Oh yeah,
He
there's
went to
literally a drink is
Buc-ee's.
huge.
But now, the Houston Astros gave him a bunch of free stuff, put a bunch of free stuff in his hotel room. They were like giving him free hotels and stuff. And he's like, I'm just a man.
He was invited to NASA to talk to the ISS.
That's so cool.
To just check in.
Yeah.
You guys watching football? It's like he went to go and talk to the only people that can't watch the World Cup.
This is, it's very similar to the time I was on Japanese TV. I don't know if
I think we have discussed that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, where it was like it was on a like Rediscover Japan was the show, and it was for people in Japan to see foreigners appreciating the things that Japan has to offer.
Right. Yes.
And like that is like it's like can be very valuable because you become so kind of jaded in your normal like kind of you take everything for granted.
I think we were talking about this for whatever reason, just like the other day, just socially so and so. But like, I do think there is a like understandable kind of like black pill position on essentially everything that can happen in the US because justifiably it's a very frustrating country. It's a world dominating world police hegemony that is more than willing to blow up the entire world out of spite. And is doesn't care about its own populace, and so. This is all justifiable hate towards those in power and the institutions. Now, there is a large portion of the country that contributed to those people being in power and being in that position.
Sure.
But I am personally of the opinion that by default, people do care about one another.
Yeah.
And ultimately, given the choice, given the two buttons, most people would choose universe where everybody feels fulfilled versus universe where only I feel fulfilled and other people feel bad.
Right.
A lot of people are falsely under the opinion that for them to feel good, other people do have to feel bad. Ominous stuff. It's not real. That's the trick. Greatest trick devil ever played, whatever.
Yeah.
And I think even in my brain, even saying this out loud, it is really hard to hold in concert the two ideas of like, well, I'm enjoying this country and I like my friends here and I'm liking all this stuff, but to divorce that from, it's a little bit like how like white wedding dresses have weird cultural connotations about like virginity and ownership and acquisition of women, but you can wear one, just have fun.
Well, it's because the history of the world is very dark.
Yes.
And there's a lot of killing, there's a lot of bloodshed, there's a lot of evil.
And America's very contemporary. It's like contemporary one.
Contemporary, yeah. But we don't have to acknowledge the horrors of the past every single time we enjoy something or feel a happy feeling.
Yes.
And so like it's
actually the only ammunition we could potentially have against that, like permanently being the case.
To be honest, it gives a feeling of like hope about humanity as a whole, which I think is a net positive.
I think what the U.S.
Even though it's like, because I'm like, I don't care about the Houston Police Department and I have all these thoughts about police.
I think I'd rather not go there personally.
In fact, I'm like, this is closer to propaganda than anything else.
Yes.
And that's like their incentive.
That's very smart. Like I see this strategy here and it also kind of feels like, I don't know, if this was, I don't know, if this was happening like in Japan, seems like no matter how viral a particular Twitter account is going, I think it would seem weird for them to invite them to like the Tokyo Police Department.
Yeah.
They're like, that's strange. Or to the Space Expedition Department. Like,
right.
Go to the football bits, I would think.
I think there probably is something appealing for a German man to go to a Texas police department because it feels so like
from movies.
Yeah, or TV shows.
Jordan experienced that, like yellow school buses.
I really genuinely didn't think they were real. Like I thought that was a cartoon thing or outdoor. I think I assume they have them in Florida as well because I know it's like a climate related thing. But outdoor lockers, I know is a big thing in California. Like at schools.
My high school had outdoor lockers.
Oh, at a high school.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We have those.
That's another like
indoor school is only on TV to me.
That's funny because it's the other way around for me.
I think it depends on your climate.
Yeah.
When I think of lockers, I only think of them because that's one of those things which like, don't worry, I at no point intend to go to an American high school. So it's one of those things that will always live as media to me. And when I think of a locker in America, I never think of it from first person I'm opening it.
Yeah.
I think of it from like, hey, pipsqueak guy pushing bully there. Yeah. I just like can't imagine it.
But I think like some part of what Freddie's doing is like this America is this like thing I've seen on TV and like I'm like I want to go to the police station because wow, American police are like this very
There's
specific
so many
thing.
TV shows.
But it's at the same time it's like but there's nuance here and he doesn't understand that nuance and he's only getting like one side of it. But whatever.
Sorry, can we drift up a tiny bit?
But yeah, it's like
that AC tweet is really funny.
Well, so this stadium that Germany was in, everybody was talking about, even on the broadcast. I think it's in Houston. Everyone was essentially dying in the line to get into the stadium because it was so hot and humid. They were actually having a heat wave. It was over 100 degrees. It was like extremely humid. They were dying. And then they get inside of a football arena that has a roof and air conditioning. And everyone was like, oh my God, now I'm freezing.
Yeah.
Because I'm prepared for this awful heat we're in. And now I go inside a air-conditioned football stadium. That's crazy. And everyone was talking about it.
It is really interesting because it puts it casts doubt on that thing where like you'd see a headline about heat in like Europe, the UK somewhere, and it would be like the equivalent of like 82 degrees Fahrenheit here. And then people would be like, wow, these people wouldn't survive in America. And then the Europeans would be like, no, it's like the heat's different here.
Yeah, it's fucking weird.
But it does also get hot here in a way that is meaningful.
It's
and
the,
now
like-
they're experiencing that.
Well, and because they're, like we said, it's happening all over. So it's also in Guadalajara and Mexico City,
Yeah.
and I think Vancouver and Toronto are the two Canadian ones.
Yeah, they snuck in there.
San Francisco, Seattle. So that's the other funny thing is they had to cover all the logos on all of the stadia.
FIFA, famously corrupt organization, their contracts are extremely demanding on the countries, and it's like no free advertising. Every branded SoFi Stadium, that has to be Los Angeles Stadium, and there has to be signs for Los Angeles Stadium. And these are things that are signed into contract that are demanded by FIFA. This particular World Cup, I think a lot of the agreements for it happened like 10 years ago. So like for example, Chicago Historic Soldier Field. Rahm Emanuel was the mayor of Chicago when they were doing the negotiations for this. And FIFA not only, like, Soldier Field is one of the few American stadiums that doesn't have have one of these sponsors. Like that's just the name of the thing. But in the contract had all of these stipulations, and we're going to make them have a cover for Soldier Stadium to build a covering, some way of covering it. And then like they basically are like, that is not, that we can't put that in there. Like, no, we never exercise this, but it just has to be in the contract. It's like, well, then let's take it out of the contract. And they're like, no, well, it has to be in the contract.
Oh, well, let's put it there. I mean, who cares?
And so then Rahm Emanuel was like, I don't want to run the risk of putting this, who has his own problems politically, but like, I don't want to run the risk of kicking this cost to the taxpayers, because one crazy thing about America is most of these stadiums get made because people who want to make the stadium, the billionaires and trillionaires now with Elon,
congrats, by the way, for working so hard.
Negotiate really hard with cities when they're moving teams, and they say, hey, I'm going to bring all this business. You should actually pay for the stadium. And that almost never is a good investment, but they look for the city that's going to do it. And so
it's the Amazon warehouse strategy. You just be like, who wants it?
Yeah.
You have to pay. Sorry.
And so one of the interesting, so as a result, Chicago is not, despite being a historic American city, is not hosting any of the World Cup games. But why they did host the exhibition match that I happened to be next to playing Pokemon Go that happened between the US and Germany right before. I wonder if Freddie was there. Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta has a big Mercedes-Benz logo that opens up mechanically at the top. So they were able to get an exception. So they're the only people that didn't have to do that.
But they still covered
They covered it with
other
like
insignia.
with like a sheet, basically.
It's such a weird, like, FIFA, yeah, again, like, notoriously difficult to work with in any setting, to the point where they, I wouldn't say fumbled the bag, but they essentially just, like, cut off their relationship with EA, which is, that those games are no longer FIFA games. They are, like, independent, sort of like soccer league.
John Oliver has been doing episodes about FIFA corruption for like 12 years at this point. Like, because I feel like the first one I watched was literally like in his first season of his show. And I think he's maybe done 3. And that's mostly where my info about this comes from.
The Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, which is now being called the San Francisco Stadium, they covered up the little Levi's logo, but it looks like a little underwear. And so people were calling it, various names that meant underwear stadium.
That's funny.
And then Levi's changed their social media logo to be the little underwear.
Very clever.
So smart.
It makes me want to buy pants.
I will say, I think this is even smarter than your average thing, because the world scale of the World Cup is so kind of unfathomable if you're only an America-brained sports head. Because, for example, there was just a match between it was between Spain and not Curacao.
Cabo Verde. Cape Verde.
And the 40-year-old goalkeeper saved a ton of goals. It ended up being a tie.
It was
He
like an
immediately
insane
became
defense,
a hero. Insane defense. Went from 50,000 subscribers to more than Jalen Brunson has post winning the NBA championship.
You know,
Vozinha is his name.
football internationally is probably like probably the best example of how American cultural insular stuff is actually holding us back from a lot of cultural conversations. Like, it's kind of reminds me of when people are like, who the hell is Bad Bunny?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, well, you are the sheltered one.
And I feel like a similar sentiment is held about soccer, as we call it. Do you know why it's called soccer?
It was Britain.
It's
Association
football,
and then democratic, socialist, and then actually iconic British move. Do the thing it's completely our fault. Blame someone else and be like, what were you thinking? Invade a place and then be like, why did you let us do that?
I did hear someone playfully call. They were like, "This is football and it's soccer, and then in that American football is hand egg."
It is hand egg.
There is that big bit where they do kick it, and that is a lot
That's
of fun.
crazy.
That's one of the biggest kick parts in football.
Yeah.
But then the rest of the time, it's a lot of hand
Can
egg.
I share something else fun with you guys?
Please.
So this
Yeah,
is
this is
from
awesome.
a Japanese
yeah.
fella who's in America for the World Cup. And he says, USA, a Mexican restaurant. We had not yet ordered anything and the food was already arriving. Chips, salsa, unrequested, free. I stopped the waiter. We have not earned these. These just come with the table, man. They come with the table. In my land, hospitality is a debt. Every gift creates an obligation, weighed carefully, returned in the proper season with interest of feeling. Here, the gift arrives before you have even proven you can pay for dinner.
Participation trophies here in America.
Yeah, it's true. Everybody wins something.
This is not an appetizer. This is a declaration. We trust you. Eat. I ate with the gravity the moment served. And then I must report this calmly. The basket emptied and a new one appeared. Did we refill? The waiter said. It's bottomless. Bottomless. They have wells of salsa.
This reads like a set of haikus.
The supply lines of this nation are beyond anything my ancestors imagined. My friend warned me, do not fill up on chips, dude. Too late. I had accepted 3 baskets. Honor demanded each one be finished. An unfinished gift is an insult. By the time my actual food arrived, I was a ruined man. I was not hungry. I was not comfortable. I had been defeated by courtesy.
Yeah, we politeness mogged, unfortunately.
Generosity that arrives before the request cannot be repaid. It can only be survived. I know the rule now. I have made my peace with the basket. 1 basket, 2 at the most. Who am I deceiving? There is no number of baskets I could refuse. The trust of a nation is in that salsa, and I intend to honor all of it.
This account is awesome, and they have like
It's
a
great.
bunch of these.
Yeah.
Which is I
It's
recommend.
poetry.
Yeah, it is poetry.
Do you
I
feel
love
like Florida, I mean, I'm not accounting for every cuisine, I guess, but like Florida meal culture is different than California meal culture?
Well, California meal culture, I feel, is probably different than LA meal culture. You know what I mean?
Yes, yeah.
So like where I was, it was like very hard to find like authentic food from certain cultures, but there would be like fusion. There's some parts of America that remind me of Japan, where like I went to a German restaurant once in Japan, and it like just felt like an artist's reimagining of what a German.
Oh, yeah. It's a Hard Rock Cafe kind of thing.
Yeah, like it's just like it's nowhere close to like what German food is. But then there are places in America where this isn't close to what Asian food is. This isn't close to what like yeah, I had sushi in Gainesville, but you could order the Tim Tebow roll.
No, right.
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
I mean, I feel like we didn't grow up in like traditional house environments, so I guess we can't speak to like the suburban experience or whatever. But I always think of like, and it's just my internalized like othering for sure.
Yeah.
But I always think of like, yeah, you know, Japan, they have a very procedural relationship with their food, and they have a very a methodology to the way you eat and the way you present and the way you do whatever. But trying to think of it in reverse, because we're as idiosyncratic, we're
Yeah.
as weird. it's just trying to wrap my brain around it in reverse, where I'm like, I guess if I've internalized, like, you put your fork and knife on the plate when you're done, or it's like very rude. And like, you fork on the left, knife on the right. And I don't know if this is universal at all. Is that like a thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably very old fashioned.
Yeah, there's like old fashioned rules, but I don't know anyone who like knows them.
I guess it stuck around Britishly. Like that was like, my mom didn't give a shit.
There was Monique's Charm School. I don't know if you guys remember that show.
What the hell is that?
It was like, what if we got some ghetto people and took them to where a British person can tell them how to be proper.
They did that one episode of Black White where they send Nick to like diction school or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think
and they call him the N-word.
I think it was that. Yeah, it was
Monique's Charm School.
Yeah,
who's British?
Who's British? A random token actor they got to be a British guy. I think.
Oh, is that Sharon Osbourne?
Yeah, maybe she did a different season.
Yeah, maybe she took it over.
That makes so much sense.
Oh, that's the Rock of Love. So it was probably contestants from Rock of Love.
Charm
Oh,
School.
wow. That was a weird time in VH1, I guess.
Rock of Love Charm School. This is Simpsons Meet Family Guy.
Yeah, it's a little bit. Yeah, because Rock of Love was just a dating show. So now they're saying, you trailer park trash. Because that's the, oh, you Bret Michaels fans, you're from the South and you're a certain archetype of person who has no manners. So now let Sharon Osbourne teach you Britishly how to be proper.
Come to this show where we will teach you to speak in a way that will make you be made fun of at home.
Oh my God. I was joking in my language, but this is literally what it says. Ever wonder what became of the girls that were so nasty, vicious, and rough around the edges that even Flavor Bret Michaels didn't want them?
That's an insane.
What are those girls going to do? Where are those girls going to go?
Home?
Luckily for them, VH1 had just the place to send them. Yeah.
A little place called jail.
Charm School.
Charm School.
In relation to what Jordan has said many times, I sent Jacob, I just texted you something that was related to the yellow school bus.
Oh.
Mm. I saw one as an Italian guy getting free refills and losing his mind.
Oh my God. I haven't seen that. That's cute.
Kept getting Coke.
It's gotta be because I also associate like Italian eating culture as that, ritualistic as well.
Yeah.
But like American Italian eating culture.
Like he finished it and then they just, and he was like,
Mamma mia.
3 refills. He's like, I'm going to have another one. And they're like, stop. You don't need that much.
World Cup without shelling out a fortune? Well, maybe you take a school bus.
That's where the Providence Tartan Army comes in.
We were very disappointed in Boston. They robbed us blind.
Instead of paying $80 for commuter rail tickets to and from Foxborough, these Scotland fans chartered a fleet of more than 20 yellow school buses.
Can I just say how interesting it is for me, just because of the history of the United States? So many place names are European and then have been like kind of, over time. But I just like looking at those places as places in America, right? Isn't that funny?
Don't make no damn sense.
Yeah,
well, even Foxborough, where Gillette Stadium is, which is now called Boston Stadium, is not in Boston. It's in Foxborough. And that sounds Scottish, like Buddha.
And
Foxborough.
I mean, that's the whole thing with stadiums and tax codes and things. I think where the Chiefs play is like slightly outside of the state. Is outside it. They play in the other Kansas City.
Yes, San Francisco Stadium is actually in Santa Clara.
So, sadly, Chicago Bears are going to be playing outside.
In Indiana.
Yeah, in Indiana.
I just heard that.
Crazy.
They got lost or something.
Well, the border of Indiana is right next to Chicago.
That shouldn't count. You
So
should
it's
be
like
allowed
a
to do that.
suburb, I guess.
Nah, I'm not allowing that. Sorry.
Sad.
We spoke to a few bus companies and the prices were incredible. So we then had a little bit of a joke. Let's get some school buses.
Is the guy on the shirt? My only guess is he's the manager of the Scottish national team.
Yes.
That's my guess as well. I don't know though.
Or it's principal from the school. Very principal coded.
This helps clear up something for me too, because so many of these games are so far away in the US. I was like, are these people rich or how are they getting around? Like long road trips make sense. School bus makes sense. But and you also just can't go to every game that your country is going to, right?
There's another, because
you have to be jumping between like Vancouver and I guess the group stage keeps you in
the group stage. They have scheduled it. You know, normally if it's in a smaller, more condensed place, it would be a faster turnaround. But right now, teams have like a week between games. Yeah. So,
but I just mean the fans. Like it's a big ask for.
It is a huge ask.
How much to? Yeah.
Another just like huge culture shock after moving here is like you know the United States is big. You know it's a bunch of states, but it's so big. It is so inconceivably large to the extent where it's like. There are states or cities or districts that people here will refer to as small. It'll be like, it's San Francisco, 7 by 7. You know, it's like it couldn't be smaller.
Yeah.
The amount of time required for me to public transit anywhere not directly in walking range in the city rivaled any amount of time I'd spent in England my entire life.
When the EU is slightly bigger, I think there was like like some sort of British Isle that was ripped unceremoniously from the European Union.
They think they asked us to leave, and we were like, "We'll graciously do that."
Sure.
It felt like traveling between states.
Yeah,
like when I was in Spain, for example, traveling across countries because of the proximity. Yeah, it just felt like you were going from one state.
The
to
freedom
another.
of movement thing is, I like literally just didn't even. I think ironically, it then became a very large part of my life, but I used to think of like visa processes as pretty much something exclusively for citizenship and permanent immigration somewhere. But it is actually, I mean, we get like visa waivers a lot of the time for certain countries and things like that. Like even if I go to Canada, I'm still allowed to do that.
Right.
But now, oh my God, I can only imagine how frustrating it is to do like, the hopping on a Ryanair flight for £8 and like having your kind of celebratory schools over boys trip to Greece or something is now presumably requires like paperwork and a completely different.
Yeah.
But that's the thing about living in the US is like.
Thanks, Nigel.
Thanks a lot, mate. Yeah. That's maybe.
Before we hit play, I had one other thing that I probably won't have a good time to mention. The broadcasters being in a lot of American football stadiums is really funny just because I know how Americans feel about certain figures, owners. Like, for example, our friend Michaela is a Cowboys fan. A lot of Cowboys fans hate Jerry Jones. And I was watching a game where the broadcasters were like, "We're here at the amazing Dallas Stadium. Jerry Jones has done a wonderful job." And it's just funny because like everyone no one likes Jerry Jones.
But then to the commentator, it's just like, well, thanks look at all the work you put in.
Yeah, exactly. It's like wow, and it works. And I mean, that you got that much at least.
That's true.
After we finish watching this, I have another video of a guy marveling at that situation. So we'll.
Oh, really? That's funny.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, we rented almost every school bus in Rhode Island. We've also got about $16,000 of beer. And then we've got the biggest backlot party in tailgate you've ever seen.
We need to get the alcohol off the truck and onto the buses before we get on.
I got to ride with the Tartan Army for Game 1 against Haiti.
And it's a lot more comfortable than I was expecting. And it's super fun out here.
School buses back home are traditional larger buses. The yellow bus idea is more that we watch it on The Simpsons, really.
The ride was only about 45 minutes long, and the beer was flowing throughout.
It is funny to take a 45-minute drive and be like, well, I'll need my beer.
Well, a party, bro. Every bus is a party bus.
Yeah.
I've been on a school bus like this before.
Thousands more Scots descended on Providence this week for the World Cup, but not all of them will be watching at the stadium.
And it suddenly grew arms and legs, it became a monster, and we estimate now there's maybe 12,000 Scots in Providence.
They're hoping to part.
Oh my God,
it's like
that's
half
so
the population of Providence.
It's like I just had a moment, unfortunately, of reality when I think about how the Trump administration has spoken about immigrants and stuff and people traveling to the country and how different it is if 12,000 people are from a brown country.
Well, it's those immigrants. Because
literally
expats and visitors.
like they're playing like Haiti, and then like I think about how people.
If there was 12,000 Haitians, there would be an uprising.
There kind of was a
military would be
situation in New York when Brazil was about to play. They hadn't played yet. And all the Brazilian fans were in New York going wild at the same time that the Knicks had just won the finals. And so it was like Brazilians everywhere mixed with like crazy Knicks fans.
I saw some people who were like confused, like Europeans confused about the NBA finals.
Yeah.
Like why New York was so crazy at that point in time.
They're like, well, there's a lot of New York fans of the World Cup, I guess. Wearing other jerseys.
I saw like evil reply bots that are trying to sow like Discord, talking about like they're like Zoran and the governor of New York were at the game that was hosted in New York, and they're like, why aren't you supporting the U.S.?
That's awesome.
I'm like, that is A+ bait.
Yes.
Oh my God, did you see I Show Speed?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Sitting next to Mamdani and didn't know. He's like, "Where's the mayor?" And
why is everyone saying mayor?
Russell was like,
shit, dabbed up the mayor the same way you would like a really good pilot.
Russell, who is now governed by in Mamdanistan by Zoran,
the Sultan.
He said he pointed out that Zoran wasn't even going to speak to him and mention that he listens to his World Cup song until he approached him. I was like, that is very polite. Like he didn't even bother him or anything.
I think what works so well for Zoran's vibe is that he seems to always have a counter in the pocket.
Yeah.
It's like
that's incredible.
It's like when someone like my friend Dan, we lived together for 2 years through college before I found out that he's like a concert level guitar player.
Oh my God.
I thought he strummed and played, and then he was like, I've been getting a little bit of extra cash by just playing with like some people at the school. I'm like, playing what? And they just went like, well, okay. Got out his acoustic guitar and just fingerstyle like, and like, what the fuck? You held on to this? That's so much cooler.
The end of that I Show Speed clip is him sitting back in his seat. Later, he was sitting in Zoran's seat, which was very funny. But him sitting back in his seat and saying "W Mayor," so awesome.
W Mayor.
W Mayor.
Thanks for doing, the city.
Dude, that.
You built this?
Mm-hmm. He built the city.
Dude, on rock and roll.
So after Scotland played, they won 1-0 to Haiti. Poor Haiti. And they were celebrating in Boston, and they found the cop slide.
That's awesome.
Explorers. Did he hit it? Did he hit the... Yes. That's crazy.
I was like, is that a sound over the video?
That's awesome.
How did his kilt not slide up?
Notice how the whimsy of the Scots make them go down that slide so slowly.
I want to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Is it evil that makes you go down
Of
fast?
course.
Yes, and inverted. This is like the final test in Last Crusade in Indiana Jones, where it's like you have to choose the cup, and if you are humble and moral, you don't turn to dust.
It's Nimbus.
Yeah.
Or Quinto Un, which that's the name of the cloud in Japan, right?
Well, you only the virtuous
only those who are
converted.
pure of heart. Yeah.
Scottish guy riding it, playing the bagpipe. That's a great image.
So sick.
So this is kind of relating to what you were saying about like when we see someone we don't like on the feed.
Watching the US games here is wild because sport ultimately is a form of escapism. So in the bars, they're like, USA, USA, until they see a Trump official, and then they're like, boo, boo. Then it goes back to the game, and they're like, USA, USA. Then it goes back to the Trump official, and they're like, dang it. For a second there, I forgot about the fascism.
I mean, yeah.
It ruins the suspension.
And that's okay. I think actually that's ideal.
Yeah.
Because it is just like a sports team at that point. That's like the last time I felt relatively patriotic was during the Olympics when it was like Steph and LeBron and KD. And I was like, hell yeah, brothers. But in the way that's fun.
They kept showing Marco Rubio at one of the games.
I saw that.
And I just was like, oh, stop showing him.
Cutting to a turd.
And he's sitting next to the evil FIFA president.
Of course he is.
Just cutting to the axis
Senor
of evil.
Egghead.
Like you guys had mentioned, like, of course, many of the visitors from primarily white countries are having an amazing time in the U.S. But there has been plenty of, like, there was a Somali referee that was denied entry to the country. There was an Iraqi football star who was detained for the better part of a day.
Why am I being surprised? I don't realize this. It's still hitting me as a surprise. I'm like, well, yeah,
I just remembered something extremely recent that can give you the taste of the FIFA president. He said that for the under 18 FIFA World Cup, he wants to get a match between Israel and Palestine.
Oh,
not knowing that over 1,000 Palestinian footballers were killed in strikes from Israel.
That is like so. I guess if you are just kind of elegantly evil, yeah, I guess why wouldn't you just think that? Why wouldn't you just? Well, I'm already the villain. I'll just be insane. Yeah, of course.
And then the Iranian team is not allowed to stay in the U.S.
Yeah.
They have games here, but they have to go back to Mexico between their games.
So
that's been like a
sucks.
logistical nightmare for them because they're not getting enough sleep.
Yeah.
And like,
oh my Lord.
Yeah.
It's such an odd. That's that's the problem, right? It's like these two things do exist in perfect sync, and I think there's again, scale of the country is a big part of it, but like in the UK, even that like video we just watched, not that the cop slide, that's perfect and perfectly virtuous. The previous one where he's talking about like watching games in America is like this. And I'm like, well, I don't know where you are right now. It's not like that everywhere. There's quite a few places, maybe not a lot of cheers for Marco Rubio, because who gives a shit? But like a lot of people will performatively woot and holler when they just show a member of the Trump administration.
Well,
that
that's
is like
there are parts of America where they're probably not booing.
It's the same rules as another team. They boo when the team they don't like.
Cynically, I kind of think that the places where they would woo, there's enough turnover in the Trump administration. It's hard for them to keep track of who is an official.
They have to check like a chart.
Yeah.
Like, something. Whoa,
Also,
Chris, you know? Oh no,
no. Boo,
I think for the most part,
I don't know.
like maybe this is me just generalizing, but I feel like for the most part,
generalizing.
Thank you for your service.
Football fans in America are immigrants. They're not necessarily, the wealthiest people. And it's interesting because the USA team, this thing keeps happening that is driving me crazy, where people are like, I want to point out that this Japanese goalie was born in New Jersey. And it's like, why do you want to point that out? He grew up in Japan. His mom's Japanese. Yes, his dad is black, but who gives a shit? Why are you pointing this out? And then they'll say the same thing about American players with like kind of African last names.
Or
like
Flo Balogun is, he simply was, his parents are from Nigeria. His parents were in the U.S. while his mom was very pregnant. As the story goes, they wouldn't let her board the plane because she was too pregnant to go to the UK where he grew up.
Oh, right.
So he ended up being born in Brooklyn. Oh. And as a result has American citizenship, though he is a like British national and that's like where he grew up and where he trained and where he plays. But he had the opportunity, and due to his youth, due to the pecking order, what have you, we're all happy to have him. He is eligible to compete for the American national team, and he's one of the best young strikers. This is all, by the way, when I'm not playing Pokemon, I've been like downloading. I've been consuming info about all this.
We put a USB-C in the back of your neck.
I'm hearing that he's like one of the best young strikers in Europe, period. And
But England has such a like established team that he couldn't play for them, right?
Well, yeah, or he would be a bench player. I think he could have played, but because he plays for like Arsenal, like he's a Premier League like level player. But he's like, I'm gonna have a starring role on the U.S. squad, and in their first game he scored 2 goals, and he was the first player from the U.S. to score 2 goals in a World Cup match since 1930.
God, I would have done it sooner.
But
That's
I just
really
think
good.
He was 24.
there's a lot of people in the U.S. being very weird about citizenship and ancestral identity and
what the fuck
birthright citizenship.
What the hell
and that
is
sort of
this
thing.
mythical the right way? If it's not being born here and doing a job
that's
that
the thing is, like-
exclusively requires you to be a citizen.
There is no right way. So get over it. Just enjoy the beautiful game.
Isn't there the funny thing? Yeah, there's like John McCain was born. He was born on like a military base, like out of the country.
Yeah.
And it's like technically because it was a military base, he's like an American citizen, but like you could just as easily be like, well, he wasn't born on our home soil.
Also, I think
Zoran
wasn't
gives other vibes. Sorry.
the Mormon presidential candidate who had his car on his roof or his dog on his roof of his car?
Ron Paul? No.
No.
Are you thinking of Mitt Romney?
Mitt Romney.
Oh, that's right.
He grew up in Mexico.
Yeah.
That's why he's so worldly and progressive.
Let's watch this really cute interview.
My name is.
Okay.
Yeah, my name is Hirochika Nakakuki.
Oh, wow.
It's live?
Okay.
It's
yes,
live?
Yes, it's live.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
excited are you?
Yeah.
You were so excited, right? Japan, right?
Excuse me.
Okay.
I cannot speak English, but I'm excited!
There's only 2 mics.
Let's go!
Japan!
Japan, baby! Look, it's lit.
Nice to meet you.
Japan is lit.
That's so awesome. That's it, because he had to prepare for that.
His 2 lines are, my name is, and then also, let's go.
He had excuse me. Yeah.
It's funny.
Also,
it's funny. I'm sure, translation-wise, that is, oh, pardon me. But in America, it's like, yo, pause. Excuse me.
Yeah, no, it's because of the tone that he said it in.
Excuse you.
It's so funny. Excuse me.
Going to Japan and learning, hey.
Yeah, it's like,
do that.
soon I'm saying, you know?
I also
Databayo.
just want to shout out the Japanese kit because it's really pretty. But also, I love Curaçao's jerseys and Cape Verde's jerseys. Just like
Also, shout out Kubo from the Japan team.
oh,
Japanese Messi.
so there have been so many cool upsets, and one was Netherlands Japan. They tied, and Spain was denied by Cabo Verde, and
Dr. Congo.
Dr. Congo.
Dr. Congo versus Portugal.
He prescribed them a loss.
There were so many good memes about like when you realize your goat is washed.
Oh my god, the Ronaldo memes are so funny because it's like the haters were saying that Ronaldo is washed, and the haters were right. They got this one.
It's like, I want to thank all my haters because I like them. Thank you.
But anyways, I'm having fun watching the World Cup. It's going to go on for a long time.
It's gonna go on for a long time. 4 more years.
I mean, it kind of is like a month or more of World Cup.
It is. It is a month. I think it's always a month.
Yeah, it's always this long.
Yeah.
It's a long summer.
It's a
of
long
football,
summer,
and I love it.
I'm having a good time, and it's funny because I forget that because I've been watching the World Cups. I think I skipped the Qatar one. Oh my god, I have a whole thing about exonyms. Hank Green made a video, toponyms, exonyms, the terms that like Nippon versus Japan.
I see, right.
Yeah.
That's an exonym.
Exonym is Japan, and like
Right.
when the Japanese man there says Japan, he's using the exonym
We're saying
for his home country.
If a German guy says Germany, not Deutschland.
Exactly.
Okay.
It was funny during the Japan-Netherlands game. My friend was like, where's Holland? And I said, well, Holland's it's Netherlands. And she was like, oh, because we were talking about the different ways that different languages say Netherlands. In French, it's Pays-Bas. It literally is the low land.
Yeah.
Oh, roasted. Oh, damn. It's pretty high up.
And so she was like confused about like why we call it. And I guess I've learned since that Holland is actually a region of Netherlands.
Is it
or
a
something.
Great Britain versus England thing?
I guess so.
Yeah, so the Netherlands is the country, and then Holland refers to specifically 2 of the provinces within the Netherlands.
So it's like British Isles, Great Britain,
The United Kingdom, Britain,
England,
and
the
Great-
United Kingdom,
and
Northern Ireland, Ireland, Northern Ireland. Oh my God, yeah, Ireland is Ireland and Northern Ireland. But if you're talking about the geographical entity,
Yes.
but then the United Kingdom is Great Britain plus Northern Ireland.
And Ireland is Europe, but Northern Ireland is excluded
Dude.
from Europe in a trade sense now.
Dude,
It's so cool the way we
live
do it.
in a society.
And then complaining about the rest of Europe, like, it's so confusing and fussy. We have 9 names, 6 flags.
It is interesting to see what the commentators of the World Cup choose to say. Like Cape Verde or Cape Verde. Like, that's not how they say it. They say Cabo Verde. It's Portuguese.
Yeah.
But we're using kind of a Spanish accent.
Yeah, or I remember Ivory Coast or like Côte d'Ivoire.
Côte d'Ivoire.
Yeah, like I learned it as that. And then I later learned that was Ivory Coast.
Yeah, we should just call it Côte d'Ivoire. It's not that hard to say, right?
But the fun one is Turkey, because Turkey in 2022 basically asked that to be their name so that it didn't share a name with the food/bird.
That's a good call.
Yeah.
I do think there's something very like a lot of the time it shares a flavor when people are like, it's actually Qatar. It does.
Well, yeah, Qatar versus Qatar is like I think, I could be wrong, I think that's a endonym versus an exonym. Endonym, I think, is the reverse.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it is and there's absolutely valid and go with whatever you prefer. I am a little tired of it being the same white people that told me I have to say Latinx. It smells the same a lot of the time of just like, well, actually, you can't say that word that way, and then you talk to anyone from the culture or with the relationship, and they're like, we don't fucking care.
Yeah.
Why would we care about that? It's actually fun the way you say it.
Latinx in Spanish. You would say like Latine.
Latin. And it was nice of us to do that for Spanish speakers. Just be like, by the way, you guys are doing a bad job. Just heads up.
Jordan has a special segment, but before he gets to that, just want to say, after the show, we will be over on Sad Boys Patreon, patreon.com/sadboys, where we'll be doing Boyz Nightz, our second podcast, where we just do it again.
There's hundreds of episodes of the show that are kind of like nasty. It's
if
like
you feel like you ran out of episodes to listen to, no, you didn't.
I have good or bad news, depending
good or
on
bad news.
Maybe you were trying to finish the show.
About 170 more to work through.
170 more.
I lied when I said hundreds plural, but dozens.
It is more than 100. It's
tens of dozens.
It is hundreds to me.
We're over on nights. I'm going to tell Jarvis what a Jarvis bro is.
Anyway, Jordan, what's your segment?
Breaking news. Someone broke into my car. Yesterday morning, the people are saying that Jordan's Kia was broken into by a nefarious villain. True story.
We're not speaking about our Prime Minister.
Panning shot of a school, So yeah, this did happen. Somebody, a nefarious hamburglar, striped shirt, domino mask type, I assume. The whimsy is helping me deal with it. Used one of those sneaky methods that does not damage the car, thankfully. Trying to be thankful for something like that. Now, I want to make an appeal to them specifically.
You think they're watching?
I guarantee it.
Okay.
Because how else would they know to tactfully steal the following items? One, the only reason I immediately realized that something had happened in my car was because they had left my roll of dog poop bags sticking out ever so slightly from the center compartment. I know where everything is in my car at all times, including the fact that when opening the glove compartment, I noticed that the pair of socks I keep spares did not roll out the way it normally does.
You keep a pair of spare socks in your car?
Two pairs. Two pairs of underwear and a different jacket and a try my best sweater. And a baseball cap.
Can't get mad at that.
Always be poking. Thank you, first of all, for taking my $8 pair of sunglasses from the Galleria with a broken lens. Notice that they were gone because you left one of the lenses.
I didn't need it.
Thank you.
I mean, they might not have needed it.
What the hell? And, well, I suppose I'll try and be nice about this. I'll speak directly to you. Maybe it benefited you.
Don't look at me. Don't mind me.
Maybe it benefited you to take the small bag of toiletries that I had in my center console, which included a roll-on set of Old Spice deodorant and moisturizer. And again, I've decided that it's okay and that I forgive you. And I can only pray that the Aquaphor that you also took from the center compartment helps you while you burn in hell. While you burn in hell forever. I hope your skin is flammable. I hope Hades pulls your eyes out. I hope the $300 you stole from my center compartment can be used for the river Styx. You fucker! I'm going to find you. I'm going to find you, and there's no Aquaphor in the world that can help you. I will throttle you with my spare socks. The first opportunity I get, I will stuff my spare water bottles, travel size, so people can have it, it's like an Uber, down your throat until you explode open like the parting seas. But I'm actually fine with that, and I'm laughing.
I recently came into some Aquaphor, and I was thinking about getting a tattoo.
Did you also find $300 that was intended for a tattoo?
We end every episode of Sad Boys with a particular friend.
I'm gonna find you! We love you.
And we're sorry.
I'm gonna get you.
Gucci girl, how you doing? How you moving, girl? Moving, girl. How's your day looking? That future girl, yeah, we on now. Take my money, go away, all you want it.
Girl, too rich for me.